The Most Reverend Dr. Philip Aspinall, the Archbishop of Brisbane and Primate of Australia, School Council Chair, Ms. Cheryl Malloy, Deputy Chair, Associate Professor Susan Brandis, Members of Council, Tom Betts and the Reverend Dan Talbot, distinguished guests, parents, girls. It has been a great honour to be the principal of the school during the centenary year. During the year, we've been able to honour many school experiences in the creation of our centenary history. We've been able to pay tribute to all in the building of our centenary wall, and we've had the opportunity to give great focus to the reality of our present school. I want to thank the council, the staff and the girls of the school for the extraordinary way in which you have contributed this year. I applaud the student leadership of our school this year. In the junior, the middle and the senior schools, we have been blessed. We have seen confident young women taking initiatives, finding relevance in our school values and expressing their perspective with inventiveness and elegance. Today I have 2 points to make. One about the nature of our world and the other about the school within that context. By the way, I commend to all the following book. Stephen Johnson's Future Perfect is optimistic, thought-provoking, and it helps unravel the school within the world of today. My first point. The best of every generation shares much in common with the world today. We can learn from this, and a short story to illustrate. Rubia tinctorum, commonly known as the madder plant, has yellow flowers, and the plant has gentle small berries emerge in autumn. The roots of the plant contain alizarin that absorbs green and blue wavelengths of light. And from the roots, when they are mixed with sheep dung and calf blood, amongst other less interesting things, they are able to produce a brilliant red dye. The Turks were experts for more than 1,000 years in the production of this brilliant red cloth dye. The Low Country of Belgium learnt the skills and controlled the trade to the west. And in 1754, a group of very significant individuals from a wide range of professions gathered in a coffee lounge in Covent Garden, London, to see if they could counter the British lack of know-how in this area. The group's diversity was part of their skill and the creation of the final solution that helped solve this problem. They collect opinions from unexpected members of the group, from scientists, artists, merchants, engineers and teachers. They decided to create the Royal Society of the Arts, and that group went on to make many breakthroughs and discoveries through supportive initiatives. They offered prizes and refused to support any who wanted to copyright their development. This last restriction was because they felt that discovery was the right of all to benefit from. Interestingly, in our age, this resonates as it is irrefutable that industries where copyright is not used outperform those who restrict knowledge by many hundreds of %. The lesson of Rubia tinctorum is simple. Like so many, I would suggest the clever of every generation discover how knowledge benefits from the contribution of many, and where knowledge is shared freely, the advantages flow more generously through society. Incidentally, they used that dye, which they were producing in very large quantities, on the uniforms of the redcoats that they sent across to suppress the American colonies, which might suggest that perhaps industrial development is a little more successful in the long term than foreign policy. Too often in times past, The controlling image in our heads about leadership has been that heroes define greatness, and often they alone provide leadership in direction and pace. But the modern world, like the merchants who met in the Covent Garden coffee shop to plan a way to garner the benefits of Rubia Tintorum, great benefits and improvements are not really through heroes of press or politics, but through the connections we, the humble, the educated, the connected, make every day. Often we write about heroes because it is easier to explain something if we find a central figure to applaud or allow to acquire the full credit. In reality, we play a critical role in the gradual improvement that is the story of the world. I believe we are extraordinarily lucky to be here now with all that we have and all that is ahead of us. I reflect on education over time of my career, and I could not be more delighted by the direction of this school, the character of our younger generation, and the excitement that I feel for our future. I believe good ideas matter, and that gradually we can all make this place, any place, better. I believe that the world in which we live is gradually improving, and I would suggest to you this is also our school's story. Stephen Landsberg, who wrote The Armchair Economist, gives great weight to the faith that we have, much to be thankful for and much to look forward to. He's powerfully thought-provoking on the power of gradual improvement. Also on his blog site, The Big Question, he expounds what he calls the greatest story ever told. This story points to the good fortune of our moment in history. He talks about the dawn of modern economic growth and how we have seen slowly but unrelentingly gradual growth. This gradual growth has been unrelenting over the last 200 years, and it has incorporated all parts of the world. And at this stage, I would commend to you the Hans Rosling talk, which is on the TED site, of Stats That Reshaped Our World. However, the fun of the Landsberg article and analysis is when he projects that same growth forward. Using conservative data, he calculates that in one generation, a modest income, annual income of $50,000 will be $90,000 a year. That's in equivalent spending power dollars. In 2 generations, 50 years, that modest income will be $160,000 a year. But really it gets fun when you take it out about 400 years. And with gentle, gradual growth, a modest income will be $1 million per day. That's in real terms, equivalent spending power dollars. I think that's worth contemplating the implications. And the point is that gradual improvement will surround us with enormous challenges to consider how we use the opportunity, how we define what we want, and how we understand the implications for all in a world that has such horizon-shifting potential. There is a lot that is great about the world right now, and we have much to look forward to. But who will drive the world? Heroes, villains? In my view, we will always have both. But the dominant force will be not the power of one, but the power of all. It'll be the power of all that drives things forward. A modern story to illustrate this odd tension between thinking about the hero and what I'm suggesting is the real explanation of the world ahead, that is the story of us all. Some of you may remember a couple of years ago, Airbus 1549 landed on the Hudson River. This was explained with some excitement by the press as being the great story of the brilliance of the captain of the aircraft, Captain Chesley Sullenberger. Certainly he did a great job. Certainly, possibly many others might have done less well. But the story of that aircraft successfully landing on the Hudson River, essentially in downtown New York, is really the story of decades of aviation improvement that has been the story of aviation air safety. Since 9/11, air safety has improved dramatically. The year 2007-2008 had no commercial aircraft deaths in the US. Prior to this, there were only 4 single years that recorded no deaths. Presently, only 19 of every billion passengers do not make a successful landing. Compare this to 19 million who died last century after contact of disease spread by ducks. It should be clear where we should have appropriate caution. The Airbus made it safely onto the Hudson because the engines had been designed not to disintegrate if flamed out after bird strike. The landing systems have been designed not to fade if engine power cut the relay power to the computers that were critical to landing automation that would be essential in crisis. In short, the success of Airbus 1549 is the story of a world of small improvements, as is the story of life generally. Look at the data, not the hysterics in the press and blown up in infotainment TV. The reality? Divorce rates down, infant mortality down, road accidents down, homicides down, crime down, life expectancy up, education standards up, world IQ increasing. I have the data to support this. My second point, in this school, like the example of the RSA, discovering how to harness Rubia Tinctorum, the power is in the contribution of many in the diverse groups, including the staff, the students and the parents. And we also make continual improvement to the way we implement and practice the craft of education. We continually make adjustments that impact on the culture of the school. Educating modern women is our aim. Not surprisingly, we therefore focus on the substance of education, the values, the principles, the ideology of education, and the style with which all present. While we share much with the best parts of the past, the world is moving on. I think this is great. We all have so much to gain from this gradual improvement of reality. We are changing, gradually and with the improvement being our intention. How to explain that though? Perhaps a gentle reminder example might help. At the school level, I am glad to say goodbye to the days, some parents might remember these, when we sat in class and the teacher gave a handout and told us all not to turn the sheet of paper over until we were all told it was acceptable. That never made any sense to me, and I always felt it was more about power than a learning issue. In the modern world, such an idea has no future. We have been placing increasing quantities of our teaching material onto our learning management system. This system is freely available to the girls. It's called Blackboard. Staff have been outstanding in loading material onto the system, but the secret has been in how the girls have used the system. This graph shows how often the girls used the material when we loaded the content onto our servers at the school. But watch what happened when we recognised that our system was too slow and we loaded the same material onto a Tier 1 data centre in Sydney. A dramatic increase in the number of students accessing it. In fact, it was 4 times increase. We're actually pretty happy with what the girls were doing when the material was on our site. Now watch what happened when we introduced the iPads, which personalised the ability of the girls to get the material as they desired. It's about a 20 times increase. The lesson is clear, but just in case you think that year was a fluke, what you notice is that the girls were accessing our teaching materials at greater rates on Sunday at Christmas than they had previously done before test block in the middle of term. That certainly got us thinking. We also have a role to make it available in a form that can be used. Open and sharing is the key. Individuals taking control is not the story of one, but the story of all. Who wants to wait to be told when to turn over the sheet of paper? Nothing kills education more than learned powerlessness. The feeling that you are a victim of education can crush your life. Rather, empowerment opens minds. The data is clear. Our girls have broken through the restriction barrier of when to learn, and they are taking charge of their lives. Let me spend a moment on the development of our understanding of the ethos of independence. Learning emerges best when the individual is connected to the process of how to learn. Character builds when there is challenge, achievement and self-control. Leadership is sparked by the curiosity to believe that something better is possible. Voice is given confidently when we know that our utterance is expected. Our approach to learning at this school is about developing the girls' confidence to learn and confidence to explore their personalities. Forget the classroom for a moment. The girls do know the value of the classroom, the value of classroom success, but the girls talk about the camps, the sport, the plays, the teachers, the friends they enjoy. And in this vein, I would like to highlight a more recent program. What you've been looking at has been the slides of some of our exchange program schools. We now have the largest school exchange program of any school in this country. Next year we will have over 40 girls from Year 10 attend an overseas school for a learning exchange. We will have others attend people-to-people placements at major universities in the US, and language, history and world challenge expeditions continue. What do the girls get from this experience? Let's hear from their voice. As I conclude, I would like to expand just a moment on the St Hilda's Learning Institute. We recently registered the name St Hilda's Learning Institute. The purpose of this is to develop and expand our expertise in open learning. Using the invitation of Apple to participate as their first new school in using the new iTunes U site, we will develop this to develop expertise in constructing new modern curriculum that will be freely available to others with a worldwide target audience. We believe we have much to gain from publishing and sharing freely. We see the girls involved in this opportunity to publish, and by doing so, we believe we will develop in capacity and confidence. Targeting the wider world will be a challenge, but that's part of the psychology of how we believe we should engage with both ideas that matter and how we should put substance around the character traits that will serve the modern lives of all girls. 2013 will also be a year when we hold again a TEDx conference. The school will go forward embedding ideas, believing that optimism for life is a strength and that will make the future, and continue to believe that the hero lies within all, that the voice of the girls needs to be practiced, valued and built into our culture. Thank you very much.